North Node is what we call your future destiny, or if you don't want to be quite so fatalistic, where you're being called to go and grow. Whereas I forgot to say this earlier, I think of your sun in terms of life purpose as your superpowers. So it's the thing that just comes so naturally to you, and you could bring it to any profession that you did. The North Node I call almost like your future superpowers. It's the skill set your soul is just hungering for you as a human to master, or an energy it's wanting you to master. And again, for me as a karmic astrologer, I believe that we've lived many lives. And so the flip of the North Node is your South Node. It's your been there, done that energy. It's something you mastered in past lives. So I mentioned earlier to you that I formerly was a ghostwriter. My South Node is in Gemini, and Gemini is a great writer. So learning that that was my South Node actually gave me permission to leave it behind, if that makes sense. To have been in that profession for 15, 16 years and have a portfolio of books and say, wow, is it okay to leave this behind? Well, yes, because that is my soul pattern. Whereas my North Node was, again, in Sagittarius in the 9th house, which said truth, freedom, philosophy, spiritual teaching. And for you, Lisa, I'd love to hear more about your North Node in Pisces and your journey and how it really opened things up for you.
I had never heard of the South Node and North Node until you brought it up in our sessions. And learning that my South Node was in Virgo, which is very organized, can get the job done, similar to a Taurus. It's an earth sign, right? They have similarities there. And also can hermit. And I can hermit like nobody can hermit. Okay. And
I can rival you.
like exactly. Oh, it could be a contest. And so when you and I met, I was feeling very pulled, like all of a sudden, like with the tarot as an example. I've always been a spiritual person. I've always felt very connected to nature, very connected to what I consider source energy. But I've also have that right brain, left brain thing, right? Like I was, I'm very, business oriented. I can, really, create from, help build things. And, but it wasn't fulfilling me. And I was having this
key right there.
Yeah. It was this pull against each other. Like, I felt trapped in it, almost like that thing where you stick your fingers at that child's toy and you pull on it. The more you pull on it, the worse you get. You can't get out of it. And so when you introduced the South Node and North Node to me, learning that my North Node was in Pisces, which is a lot of spirituality. It's a very go with the flow. Virgo is not a go with the flow type energy. And so when I learned that, I was like, oh, I understand. And even to the point where I had been doodling for a good solid year, a Venn diagram on everything. And I had like, it came out, I doodle boxes or, we all doodle. Some people do trees, and I was doodling this Venn diagram all the time. Ooh. And then you showed me that is the symbol for Virgo and Pisces is finding that sweet spot in the middle. So I don't have to give up my Virgo energy.
Right.
I can hit the sweet spot between the two. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that is how it opened up for me, where I was like, oh, I can still be my business oriented, but I can also embrace my spiritual side.
The way I like to think about it is you can bring in a suitcase the best of your South Node. And so like that was why I would bring my communication skills and my writing skills and my research skills as a Gemini. For you, Lisa, you can put in your suitcase your ability to be analytical, grounded, practical, organized, and probably many other things to turn ideas into reality. Virgo is able to turn ideas into matter. also with the South Node, it also helps you know what to let go of. So for example, Gemini, my South Node rules like elementary school children. A lot of times it's easy for me to get pulled into, say, volunteering at my kids' schools, and I feel so guilty when I don't. This is what I want to hit on based on what you said. Knowing your North Node and your South Node gives you permission to go into a new direction and to understand you're not crazy for feeling a little bit tired of the old stuff. So to me, it's the best of all worlds. You put in the suitcase the good stuff from the South Node and leave behind some of the lower stuff, like Gemini can be sort of gossipy and chatty. And so like now I know that doesn't serve me well. And you could learn, like, I don't know for you, Lisa, personally, but say Virgo could be critical or judgmental, or I think you mentioned to not go with the flow. So if you were feeling that pull, the thing about the North Node is it doesn't always feel comfortable. The older we get, hopefully the more comfortable it gets, but it's new energy.
Thank you for saying that, because one of the things that it gave me permission to do was to, as a Virgo South Node, right? If I started it, I had to finish it. I said I was going to do it. I have to do it, no matter what it was. If I started reading a book and I didn't enjoy it, didn't matter. Had to finish it, right? If I committed to doing something like a volunteer, opportunity, and had given my time for 2 years and I didn't want to do it anymore, I would just keep doing it.
Virgo is very service oriented too.
Yeah. And I love to be of service, but to the point where I was doing things out of obligation as opposed to what was lighting my soul up and lighting, and that I was excited about. And now I'm releasing things. If I start reading a book, doesn't catch my attention, gets put down. Like once I learned that, I was like, oh, I can release this.
Yes,
And it opened up so many new opportunities to me.
that's it exactly. It opens up new opportunities.
Yeah.
And I would add, I firmly believe that if we do something that we're passionate about as our vocation or whatever, if we're somebody who volunteers, we're going to do better by the world when we follow our passion and have that energy. Thank God there's so many different kinds of people in the world. I meet clients all the time who have the opposite North Node and South Node. So one person's going, supposed to become more Pisces, but another one's supposed to become more Virgo. Don't worry, someone else is going to take your place in the Virgo realm,